Hi, this is Ryan. I've had a lot of people ask me how I came up with this image and how I created it. And I thought I'd set up a little video here to demonstrate how I brought all these images together into one. Okay, what we first did was we had a studio in Grand Rapids that a friend of mine, Rhonda Huseman, thank you very much. What we did was we started around 5:30 at night. The sun was still up, you can see from this image. And we just went ahead and exposed for the light coming through the windows, as you can see here. So it made the rest of the room very dark. But what I wanted to do was get this this texture, this light texture over here on this pillar, and having the lines from the window frame come through, and also a lot of these highlights that you see on the floor. I wanted to get that reflecting off the wood floor. I wanted to have very little ambient light to highlight the ceiling here. Then once the sun went down, brought in our model, Dana Hallinan. We set up the studio strobes and started doing some shots of Dana sitting on the couch, and as you can see here, the lighting setup on the portrait shot here was we had a key light off to the right of her, and then we had another softbox, a fill light over here, and then you can see that we had a speed light for the hair light in the back. We wanted a very soft image because I wanted to later incorporate harder lighting elements into the shot, so the subject would become more or a secondary part of the photo, as opposed to a lot of portraits that you see where they're the primary focus. And then after we shot the model and it was still dark out, what we did was we started taking shots of long exposure shots. And what I did was I took a large flashlight, and as the shutter was open, I just used that large flashlight and pushed the light, across the floor and into all these different pockets that you'll see. And then you start to see where we'll push the light over into that corner. You'll start to see that these lines here are created from the flashlight. What we wanted to get was the light that it was creating on the floor and the walls to create that texture. Here again, we're just pushing the light into the corners and on the floor line and that drape in the background, framing the window. I could have, at first I thought, I wanted to make it more subtle. But then after looking at some of the exposures that were coming out, I really wanted to frame out those windows and with a harsher light to look like it's writing on the wall, and also to spotlight the chandelier in the back. And then we came back and we started to light the couch, and behind the drape, the white drape in the background, you can see we're just building up the image here. And then I wanted to have a harsher light coming from underneath the couch to really accent the couch legs and just give it a nice highlight underneath there, and creating the texture of the wood floor. To create another visual element in the shot, I went and got a few red balloons, then put a speed light behind the balloon. What I did was I overexposed the balloon shot a little bit more, and just to get that deeper red glow, and we actually had two blue gels like barn doors on the speed light, so the blue light would flash around the balloon but yet let clear white light through the red balloon to make this color. And we just set that balloon around a couple different spots to get a good composition. And then I took an underexposed shot of the balloon, then overlaid that on top of the overexposed balloon to just give it a little bit more texture. Still felt that it was somewhat a little bit too light. I wanted it to appear dark. I wanted to bring in the highlights from the window frame. And then what I did was just brought it back in the model, Dana, the model shot, and put a mask on that. So then it would just highlight her. Now, I did like a lot of the lines and the bare bulb light that was going on in the image, but maybe it was a little bit too much. So what I did was I slowly started to take some of those out. There we go. And that's basically how I created this image. Now there's 1,000 ways that we can then set this image up. We can make it darker, which I kind of like that, darker outside without changing any of the exposure. And that's what's nice about having all these separate images, that you can literally have a few dozen different shots of this same view, and each one is going to be different. I hope you like the image, and we'll be posting up new images soon.